Good morning, everybody. This is Diggs. This is another beautiful day out here in the Pacific Northwest, and welcome to the first profile of the Yi Sang identity. Now, we're going to be going over all of his different identities, all of his different egos, talking about where he's good. Let's go ahead and dig in. So Yi Sang is probably one of the lesser used units. I do have his rarities up from 1-star, 2-star, and 3-star, but he does have some good things going for him, particularly in his 1-star and 2-star forms. Taking a look at his primary kit here for the LCB Center, this is going to be the base Yi Sang that we all have access to. His primary ability is going to be Gloom, which inflicts sinking, which is really good, and I'm really fond that his secondary skill is Envy based. It does seem like throughout this game there is a lack of envy abilities right now, and you need envy so much in order to activate so many different egos that it is really nice that he does have access to this. His final ability in Jam is going to be a sloth based ability. It is okay. If the target's SP is below 0, inflict 1 fragile. The one problem I have with this is that most of the time the opponent's SP is going to be below 0 if you are winning. Granted, his ability kit does add sinking, which does affect the enemy's SP, so maybe if it's like a multi-turn battle, you could, inflict sinking on the opponent, and then you could end up landing fragile after that. His passive ability gives 2 allies placed after this unit on the dashboard 1 damage up, requires 4 gloom to activate, which I think is a relatively easy activation condition. Information neutralization, his support ability, heal 10 SP for 1 ally with the lowest SP if they lost SP during this turn, and that's okay, as it's not super remarkable. I do want to point out his statuses here, because there is something that kind of shifts with his 3-star version. His speed is going to be 4 through 8 and his defense is 36. Just keep that in mind. And he is resistant to pierce, and he's weak to slash. Moving on to his 2-star form, 7 section 6 Yi Sang here. So he is going to come with Gloom, Gluttony, and Sloth abilities. Little bit different than the first version, and I like this version for his passives and his support, but his active abilities are just not that impressive to me. His primary ability does inflict 2 Rupture, which is okay. Rupture is really one of those abilities I don't think is just absolutely incredible right now. Riposte, his secondary ability, if he wins a clash, and inflicts 3 paralysis next turn, which is great assuming paralysis gets fixed, and then on hit for his second will inflict 1 fragile next turn. So being able to inflict fragile and paralysis is really powerful. Looking at his third ability, being able to land specifically Pierce Fragility, I would be more supportive of this if this was a Pierce, if this was just fragility in general, but it's a little weird that it's a blunt attack, but it also inflicts pierce fragility, and then it adds +1 counts to the status applied by the last coin. It's just a little off. It just seems like a weird kit. However, he does have some really good things going for him in his passives and his support ability. So in his passive, Gluttony ×4, in a clash, reduce the opponent's clash power by gluttony resistance divided by 4. For his support ability, 1 ally with the highest max HP gains +1 clash power in a clash. So this is one of the few units in the game where his passive and active support ability actually work to hinder the opponent's clash capability, which makes him really powerful. And then you have to look at his speed range as well. So he has a speed range of 5 through 8. So he is going to be very fast. So when I'm looking at what the best version of Yi Sang is, I really do like the second form as like a more supportive unit. It's going to be between the first and the second. Now, the 3rd-star version, Blade Lineage Salsu Yi Sang, does have a couple of different arts here. So this is the one before you max awaken him, and then he just becomes an absolute badass. Taking a look at his kit here, what's great is he has Pride, Wrath, and Envy. Envy, really good. You see a lot of units with Pride as well, and Wrath is always a good bonus. The problem with him is that he's going to be very poise focused, and I believe he is the unit that actually is getting nerfed. So if you've been using him and he was, you know, doing really good for you, I believe he is getting nerfed, because I believe that plus 15% damage was proccing off critical hit or all the time or something. So he is going to be getting just that little bit nerfed. Now we do know poise, the tooltip for it is going to be getting updated, so it'll be interesting to see if poise is a little bit different post update here, but I just haven't really seen the reliability of poise as being really important, as being something that, you know, like poise is something I must get. His passive on Clash Win, gain +1 poise. It's pride ×3, pretty easy to activate. His support ability, one ally with the highest SP gains +1 poise count from skills. So pride ×4, again, it's okay. And then we look at his statuses, and this is where it gets really weird. His speed is 3 to 7, and his defense is 28, and he is fatal to pierce resistance. So his resistances are a little bit swapped, which would make sense as a, you know, 3-star rarity, but it's really weird to me that his defense is lower, that his speed is lower than both other versions of himself. So there's something going on here, which I'm not sure if this is a mistake, but it just seems a little bit off. Transitioning to look at his different egos, we do have the base ego here. Crow's Eye View is the ability. I really like this ability. It only requires 1 Wrath and 3 Sloth, but on hit, it's going to inflict 2 attack power down. And on hit, it's going to give 3 haste to all allies next turn. Really like the attack power down. I really also like the giving haste to allies. Now, the passive that's going to come from this is called Silence. When hit by an attack, self-apply 5 bind next turn and deal plus 20% damage when attacking with a type or affinity the target is weak or fatal to. So very good. Pretty much all of the base egos are, and I think a lot of people don't have the kind of secondary and third egos, but that's what we're going to talk about here, because you can actually get the third ego from the battle pass. It is paid though. Let's talk about the secondary one, which you have to get from the gacha. So this is going to require Gloom 1 and Sloth 4. It is going to cost 20 sanity. So it's going to inflict 2 Sloth fragility and inflict 3 paralysis on a head's hit. I do love paralysis. That's something that I am a fan of, and I really want to get fixed and get confirmation that it's been fixed. But overall, this is, I would say, about the same, but maybe even not as good. The fact that it's specifically, again, Sloth fragility is a little bit of a bummer here. The passive is going to gain 3 blunt protection and Sloth protection. Again, not the most amazing in the world, but you know, it is going to be what it's going to be. And just a second here, get that off the screen. The third and final ego, which again is gotten from the battle pass, does require 5 Wrath, 1 Sloth, 1 Gluttony, and that's a really high cost with a cost of 20 sanity. What's nice though is it is an AoE, and it is on hit going to inflict 4 burn. If you do have a lot of AoE enemies, or you do have a lot of enemies present, this is going to be really good. I would imagine though, by the time you're able to reliably get this off, unless you're actively trying to get this off, a lot of those enemies are going to be whittled down, and so the AoE effect may not be as reliable. On Clash Win, inflict burn by Wrath divided by 2. Once per skill. I do like this. Again, if we were going to be heading towards a burn meta, which could be possible in the future, with a little bit more units that tend to focus on that, I could see this ego being really relevant, and I could see, again, the burn doing work. Right, because inflicting 4 burn is essentially the same as inflicting 10 damage on an opponent over 4 turns. But you really have to consider, you know, this is something that requires 4 turns to get the maximum amount of damage out of it, right? And then you do need to apply it early enough into the fight for it to be viable. So in situations like this, I would actually say the second ego with paralysis and Sloth fragility might actually be better, or even the regular one inflicting attack down and giving haste up to allies. Anyway, everybody, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys all have a great rest of your day. Hope you guys really enjoy these types of videos. I do want to do character profiles a little bit more on this channel, so let me know if you want me to do the rest of the Limbus company characters. Catch you guys all later.